everyone, and welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are setting up the month of February in my reading journal, and if you're new here, this is a year-long theme that I am participating in my journal for 2025. Last year I took you to 12 different fantasy destinations in my journal, and this year we are essentially documenting down our findings from that journey. So for January I did a page and theme idea on amulets and wands, and we're going to continue on with a new theme for February. I will point out straight away that my original idea for this month's theme didn't come into fruition. I had ordered some decoration tools for this theme and they didn't arrive in time, so I had to sort of delay it for quite some time and then essentially rush this to be done. So I'm not quite happy with it, admittedly, but I'm happy enough to share it with you all and what I came up with in a pinch. Right now I'm putting it around the nice ornate border. I'm going to continue this for every month. In January I did a really nice pink border. This month we're doing a gold one, and that definitely ties in to this month's theme because there's going to be a lot of metal colors. So for the month of February, the theme is going to be crowns, and I'm pretty happy with how this theme came together. I did initially want to do it with crowns and thrones, but I felt like it became way too busy having so many crowns and different thrones in the shots, so I decided to just go with crowns because I had a lot more decorative tools for that, and because a lot of crowns are made from a ornamental metal, I decided to go with all these colors. So I went with gold, silver and bronze, and I feel like whilst the idea was to play into that metal color and the decadence of what crowns are made of, it kind of ends up being a little lackluster, and I'll get to show you that a bit more as we get through the theme. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that this is the first video in a while that I've managed to add to the channel, and I just feel like I got hit with really bad January blues. Like I had no interest in journaling, I had no interest in doing a lot of things that required me to pull out a lot of equipment. I had a lot of fun over January. I did a lot of things with my family. I did a lot of crafting, and I got back into doing some of my hobby business artwork. So it wasn't all bad, but I definitely found that I had less motivation to journal, and therefore I didn't make as many videos. I do plan to do a January wrap-up video in the journal, and also thinking about doing the reading updates like I used to do every month. Hopefully I will have some time to film both of those very soon. I'm definitely feeling more motivated now that we're in a new month, but yeah, it was a bit quiet over January. I feel always like January is like that month we can sort of throw away. It's like the test run of the year, and I'm hopeful that that doesn't mean anything negative because a lot of things happen in January around the world, but I'm just really hopeful that coming through this new month we'll be able to see a bit more productivity on the channel. So I've just finished filling in what I call the reference portion of this theme. So on each cover page I've now decided to do that little reference point of what the theme is about, and I'm really enjoying this actually. It was a lot of fun to look it up and also come up with a little bit of my own point of view to add to the reference. But this is where things went very pear-shaped. So the gold border around the outside of the page is using the same pen brand as what this one is here, and it doesn't transfer through the pages. I have no issues with it. I've used multiple colors. Last month I was using that pink all the time, and I thought that every pen in the pack was absolutely fine. I was wrong. This silver metallic, not only did it go on really streaky, it bled through reasonably into the previous page. Thankfully a lot of that will be covered up by the book cover that it's in the area that it's affected, and again information will cover it on the next page. So it's not a big deal, but I was really frustrated by the fact that this pen didn't work as well as I'd hoped it to, because then I had to swap to a different type of metallic pen, which is a Anko metallic dot marker. These pens are also Anko branded, but they are an alcohol paint marker, and I'm always wary about alcohol based pens, but they've not had any issues in the past on even thinner paper. So yeah, it's just this one pen, I think, or at least I'm hoping. I will have to test every single pen from now on to make sure that I'm not going to make the same mistake. Also, I'm going to point out that a lot of footage does get cut out in this video in certain points, just because my hair in that first portion was incredibly weird. I'm not sure what it was doing. It was very much so living its own era. So yeah, a lot of footage in that first part was cut out, but the cover page is now done and we've flipped over into the monthly view. As you can see, it just doesn't pop as well, this new silver color, as I would hope for it to do. But it still does the trick. We get the header up there nice and easy, and thankfully over February I counted 4 times over. You even see me having to fix it. Thankfully I noticed it when I was setting up to start doing my line work, that the calendar was off by 1 grid on the left hand side. So I'm thankful that I was able to not have any issues with how I set it up last month happen again. But the calendar view, if you're new here, is where I just put down a visual of when I start a book and when I finish it, or DNF it, or whatever happens to that book. I do have to admit I had a bit of an issue with how that played out over January, and I will speak about that a bit more in my wrap-up video, because that's when I will be able to showcase that portion. So I am definitely still trying this new layout over February, and I have some new ideas on how I'm going to fill that in, so hopefully that will work in my favor. But otherwise the page is pretty simple. There is a large calendar view in the middle of it. I have my upcoming section, which I did utilize over January. I was worried that I wouldn't, but it did come in handy a couple of times there. I hope that I can make it continue to work. Otherwise, I'm not actually sure what I would do with that portion of the page, since I'm quite happy with the arcs and the book haul sections that used to be on this page filling up somewhere else. Perhaps I could do a bit more decoration if this becomes a bit of a stalemate in the setup, but overall really happy with how this page came together. It's one that looks really simple when it's not got any information on it. And I do come in and add in a decorative border around it, and I do add some of the Pinterest found decorations. Yeah, I think it ends up looking okay, and I think it's going to look fine once there's a bit more information on the page. That was my biggest worry about this month's theme. Looking back on it, I was taking photos yesterday for my Instagram posts to showcase how the theme came out. They're not up yet. I only put up my cover page at the moment, and then I'll share what you guys are seeing on this later on in this week, so you guys get to see it first. But I just found it to be incredibly white. There's a lot of blank space, and I know that it's going to get filled up and look more enticing. And I have added, since this whole filming, I have added in my prompts for February. I've added in my arcs for February, so there is some information in there already in those pictures that are going to go live. And I'm quite happy that I chose to do jewel tones to carry on with that whole crown theme, to make sure it looks like, you know, the precious stones that end up on a crown. But yeah, I feel like this needs a lot of work before it looks a little bit used and more inviting to look at, because it didn't come together as well as I hoped. I also messed up here and cut off my washi tape in the weirdest way, and I noticed afterwards how uneven it was on the right hand side after where I cut off that washi tape. So I do come in and add in another element over top, and that does help. I was also looking for my miniature paper cutter. At this point, that's why I'm just holding the random piece of tape, but I couldn't find it, so I ended up just using the ruler and the craft knife trick that you've been seeing me do with the rest of it, and that works just fine. So yeah, in a pinch you can make anything work, I feel like, in a journal. And this is almost now done. I've just got to put in the numbers for the calendar and also the border around the outside. For the month of February, I do have a little bit going on in regards to bookish content. I've had some really exciting news already. I'm narrating this on the 4th of February, and I've already had some really good news come through in regards to some book content, and then also got a few commitments this month with ARCs, with street team efforts, and I also have book club, which we've started. So it is definitely all go, go, go. And I'm looking forward to the readathon that I'm doing this month, because only in the middle portion of the month it's a 1 week readathon. It's called the 𝓤𝓼𝓭. I'll talk about that in a moment because it's going to go on the next page. But I also am really enjoying all the readathons that I've got for the year, so I think it'll work out really well just having the one readathon for a short period over February, since it's such a short month. I love how we always call February such a short month when we only lose like 2 to 3 days out of the month. But anyway, I always feel like it's quite a short month and we get through it quite quickly. So yeah, really looking forward to February. January was really good, and I can't wait to do my January reading update and also wrap up for you all to see how productive I was in the regards of how much reading I got done, because I did prioritize reading and I've really enjoyed doing that, and I'm hoping that I can continue to do that over February. I definitely have been trying to distract myself and keep myself extremely busy, and that did end up being something that went downhill very quickly when I got a very bad case of being unwell from being run down. But again, that's to be expected when you push yourself too hard, and that is also part of why I didn't have much motivation to journal much over January. But I'm grateful that it didn't affect me in other areas of my life. Now, on to the 𝓤𝓼𝓭 page. This one's going to look a little bit weird. One, I don't stick to the colour scheme entirely like I have for the rest of the journal, because the colours for this reading event is pink, like pink and red. So you'll notice that there is a lot more red. I changed the fonts as well, because I actually went in and traced the font that they've used on the graphic posts. I will link the video that talks about this readathon, because it starts on the 15th of February, so by the time this goes up you can still join in, and also their Instagram account. But I really like the pink touch on this page, and there's a lot to take in about this readathon. So it's only a week long, but we've got Instagram post prompts, we've got the actual prompts that we've got to try and commit to and read over that week, and then on the left hand side you'll notice once I get to this portion where I kind of skip through writing it all out because it took a while in camera form. On this left hand side I'm going to leave it blank, because the whole concept around this readathon is you don't even know what's going to happen. So it's about going to a ball, and your reading choices end up choosing who you end up going to the ball with, what kind of dress you're wearing, that kind of thing. I thought it was really cute, a little bit of fun, and I like the aspect that it's not really challenging, as in like you have to do so many reads to make it to a certain level, or it's like team challenges or anything like that. It's just like a bit of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing the end result, because no one knows. We don't get any prompts or like ideas of what our outfits are going to look like until it gets released during that week. So I think that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of anticipation around it all because you don't know what's going to happen. And so all the prompts that are at the top there on the top right hand page, they are what are going to represent whatever we end up with in the end. And I'm going to do a collage on the left hand side of what that's going to end up looking like. So I'm really excited to try and curate that and bring it together. On this little portion down here is just where the Instagram posts are. And I do find that sometimes I struggle to come up with ideas for what I'm going to post. I generally try to post twice a day, except for in the weekends. I post once a day, so this is going to be really handy. So that is the first portion of this readathon sorted. I will then come in at a later date and start filling in what ends up getting done. And I just filled in this little awkward gap here with a couple of crowns. I had a lot of crowns left over because I didn't end up using as much decoration as I probably could have. I'm not sure. I just ended up with a lot more pictures, but that's fine. I can definitely reuse those in other areas. And I'm really excited for this page. It's very different from the rest of it, and I think that's why I like it so much. So I was just pointing out that those metallic pens do transfer, and I was finding that they were transferring onto the top pages. So I did end up putting a piece of paper in between when I was doing the next few pages, just because I didn't want that transfer to keep happening. It was one of the biggest issues I've had when I was in my black journal, so I'm very aware of transfers. But thankfully, when I used my eraser to get rid of the metallic pen that had transferred over from me writing over top of it, it came off. So that was a win for me. I do have to say that this bottom border of photos ends up looking really awkward because on the right hand side it's really evenly spaced out, and then on this side there's a bigger gap between the photos, and watching this back made me really uncomfortable because I didn't even realize it when I was filming that it was so crooked and uneven. But this page is more of a functional page than a decorative one. This is where I house all my TBR information, my prompts for my own TBR game, and arcs and book haul. This page has not really developed much over the years. I tend to have the same stuff on it all the time, but equally it has been swapped around quite a few times. There used to be an event section, there used to be a library haul, but this year I've decided to put my arcs and my book haul section here because I track my library hires digitally now, and I don't really do the events section so much anymore because I just add it into my TBR. By events I mean like for book club reads, I write them down onto my TBR. If there's a certain book that I have to get read in this month, then that gets added to the TBR first before anything else. And then it's pretty self-explanatory. I do end up now off camera looking at this, going through and adding another gold line in between prompts and arcs. For the longest time now I've just been looking at this going, why does it look so odd? And I've only just noticed now and come up with a solution that it's because there's a missing line down the center of the book. I also mess up on this prompt section here, and so all I do is just try and use some whiteout to get rid of some of the color. The liquid whiteout is always such a pain to get out of these bottles, and it doesn't really seem like I've done much to help it, but in person it did work out. And I also go and put some sticker paper over top so I can write over it and it's not going to show up as bright anymore. But that page is basically done. We're just going to stick the sticker paper over top to hide the mistakes. And yeah, I'm going to go as soon as I finish narrating this video and go and put that gold line down the middle. Unfortunately, it won't be in my photos, but that's okay. We'll see it in the wrap-up video for February. Last page here, and it is the reading log. And I just wanted to mention that if you saw me flipping at the start of the video from my title page and there was no stats or blank page in between, that is because this year I've decided to put my monthly stats into my reading data journal, I figured that would be a smarter place to store all the stat-worthy information. And so I'm now going straight from the reading log into the new monthly cover. And I'm quite liking that. Obviously, I haven't done the stats page yet because I'm going to be setting that up with you guys on camera very soon. I'm going to be filming that this week. But yeah, it's really odd to have it so that this is all where it ends up being in the month. So you're now going to get to see everything in this journal in real time when I'm doing it, as opposed to having this idea of the stats page waiting to be done and the headers being stuck in the back of the book are no longer there. So it'll be interesting to see how this works for me, because I only recently decided to do that. I was still planning on doing the stats page in here, and then I thought, you know what, what's the point? I could add it into my designated stats book. So I will definitely end up with extra pages at the end of this book. So I am planning to hopefully try and do maybe some more decoration, or in the very least, if I need to have more space for extra readathons throughout the year, I'll have it. So that'll be really good, especially since last year when I finished using my notebook. I had only like 4 or 6 pages left at the end of it, and that notebook, I believe, has slightly more pages than this one. So I have worked it out that it would be easy enough to fit all the pages that I'm currently doing into this current journal. So that's good. And hopefully we won't need to cover up any mistakes too much, or if we do, we've got that little bit of leg room, which I always appreciate, and I always need to use some of the paper from the journal to cover mistakes, so that is always a win to have on hand. Again, I mentioned this last month and I decided to do it this month. I absolutely hate this top part of this page. I have an idea of how to go about it in March, but I always hate that it looks blank if you just leave it with just the header. And unfortunately for me, the header was slightly too low. But I decided to put the decorations around it, and then it looks really boxy. So hopefully the plan that I have for March will work. I also went through and used this green Mildliner. It's an olive color. I think it is called mild olive, something like that. And I don't know why. There's no green in this theme. It would have made more sense to use the grey Mildliner, but I just grabbed for this one. It doesn't look terrible. It kind of goes with the golds on the page. But yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. I remember getting to the end of that and looking at it and going, why did I use a green one instead of a grey? But it gives it a little bit of colour to highlight those headers for the author, series, pages, dates, format, and genre sections of the reading log. This page always looks weird at this point of time because it's very bare bones, it's ready to go, but it doesn't have any information on it. And I really enjoy this portion actually, because when it gets a lot of information on it, again, I really like that, but it takes a lot of effort to get it to look right. Sometimes handwriting always changes and it always looks a little bit messy. We have finally made it to the end of this flip through. Thank you so much for spending time with me. There was a lot of chattiness in this video, a lot of tangents, and I do hope that that was all right. I haven't done a video in a while, so I felt a little bit weird voicing this over, especially since it was quite a long one. If you made it to the end, please put your favourite emoji or your favourite book from January in the description. And until we next meet, I hope you have fun reading or journaling. Bye everyone.